What you're looking at here is my small tractor that I've added wheel weights to the rear. And this is because I have a small front end loader on it, and when I pick up something heavy it takes away from the traction to the rear wheels. So the weights help with this. Now the very first thing I had to do was make anchor points for the weights to attach to the wheel. And so I used carriage bolts. These are 1/2 inch carriage bolts by 5 inches long. If you decide to do this, depending on how you do what you're going to do, you might need 4-inch long, you might need 6-inch long, so you'll have to make that judgment. It's very important that I tighten them all down because I didn't want the weights to come loose in use. And now I have to put some stop nuts on there so that when I put the weight on, it's got a place where it stops to. So I put a nut, a lock washer, and a nut. Now all of these have to be adjusted down to a point where I want the weight to go into, but leaves me enough threads on the bolt to where I can add a nut on the other side to tighten the weight down. And so I use this piece of metal that I had was just about the right length. You could use a piece of wood if you're going to make something like this. Ruler, yardstick, anything, just cut it off to the right length you need to fit it into the rim and get your adjustments. So all 4 of them have to be the same place. If you don't have them in the same place, the weight is going to wobble as you rotate the wheel, move, and it's going to sit there and wobble and look kind of funny. So all 4 of them need to be in the proper place, identical to one another. And of course the top nut is stationary, and I tightened the bottom nut up to it, and the lock washer should hold it all together in the same place, and I tighten it very tight. Double check. Everything seems to be okay. So what I used was a brake disc off a Neon or a PT Cruiser. They're the same. If you decide to use it, you can use a disc brake from anything, just about. Just needs to be something that you can manage. Now I'm testing out how can I find the center, and so I came up with that by rotating a rod around the disc. I also marked the place where the valve stem is. So what I'm going to use is some grease here, put just a little dab at the end, so that when I reset the disc on there, the grease is going to leave a mark when I lift it off, and I'll know where to drill. So I set it on, I got my valve stem in the proper place, and I'm checking the center, making very minute adjustments here so that I've got the right center. Now I lift it off and I've got my grease marks. So now I can take a punch and I can go to each grease mark at the center of the grease mark, and I can punch it so that I know where to drill. And there it is, it's drilled out. I even drilled out where the valve stem is to go so that I can take and cut a notch in it here, and the valve stem will have plenty of clearance. And there it is. All I got to do is kind of clean it up a little bit, and I've got my opening for the valve stem. And check the fit. Everything seems to be the way I want it to be. Okay, so now I'm going to add some weight to this. And I've got some carriage bolts sticking up through the original lug nut holes. And these are going to serve as anchors for the concrete that I'm going to pour here to add weight. So I have this form. You could use coffee cans, whatever you want to create some kind of form for the center if you do it this way. And as you know, leveling it is very important. You don't want your concrete pour to be kind of off and sagging or not correct, not level. So just checking it, making sure I've got a nice level base here where when I pour it, it's going to come out and look reasonably professional. Now the rotor is about 10 pounds. Of course, like a pickup truck rotor or something would be much heavier. This was a light car rotor, but it seems to work well, but it's not heavy enough. 10 pounds isn't heavy enough. So with the concrete, I'm adding about 15 pounds of concrete here. So I'll have 25 pounds, and I checked this, and sure enough, it's 25 pounds each weight that I'm adding. And you notice that this mixture of concrete is rather loose, and that is so that it'll pour in every crevice and crack, get down into that rotor, and kind of lock it all in really nicely. Now, my finish concrete here, what I'm coming up with is thicker. And so now, when I smooth it all off, this is what I end up with. And I didn't show it there, but I added a bolt to the middle for the front there in case I had something I wanted to add at a later time. But that's it mounted. You see the valve stem has clearance. We'll put some extensions on those valve stems so that they stick out a little bit further. And here's a little quick walk around here. You can see it on the tractor. And there it is. So hopefully this inspires you. Maybe you want to make some of your own. Maybe some of these ideas will help. We certainly hope that you'll click the like button. And if you want to see more, please subscribe. Thank you so much.